Hi and welcome. I was trying to adjust my camera a little bit because I've got a mess of baby stuff on the floor behind me, but I hope you don't mind. Today, we're talking about strengthening your voice. And you'll hear my voice is actually not sounding very strong today. I'm recovering from a little cold that I have. Thankfully, it doesn't hurt to make noise, which is why I'm here. But my voice is definitely still in recovery mode. So I'm expecting some cracks and squeaks, and that is all a-okay. So if you are new here, I'm Camille with 30 Day Singer. I am due to have my baby in 1 week. So I hope that I'll see you at a live lesson next week. But if not, you know why. um, so, strengthening our voice. We do not strengthen our voice in exactly the same way that you might strengthen your biceps or your quadriceps. In fact, when people say your voice is a muscle, it's a bit of an oversimplification. Your voice is much more than just a muscle. It's tissue and cartilage, and um, so it's not just one muscle that, "Oh, if I just work that out, I'll have a stronger voice." No. A more accurate way of saying this would be that we're strengthening coordinations, when we practice singing. So, we have kind of 3 main types of exercises we're gonna cover today. Actually 4, including our kind of warm up. So our warm up is gonna focus on activating our abdominal muscles. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the abdominals when we're talking about strength. The next section of exercises we're going to do are semi-occluded exercises. We'll get to what that means shortly, but just very, very quickly, that means we're semi closing or partially closing part of the vocal tract, and your vocal tract is just your throat and your mouth. The second types of exercises we're going to do have to do with onset. Onset is how you start a note, and typically how you start a note is going to be how you sing the duration of that note. So just very quickly think about the difference if I start really breathy versus if I start strong way different ball game. And the third type of exercises we'll do have to do with dynamics and resonance. So hopefully, one thing before we jump into the exercises, I know when we're talking about strength, your mind might automatically go to loudness, or volume, but don't let it go there. Yes, um, building strength will allow you to sing with greater volume, but it's not necessary, especially at the start. A lot of the exercises we're doing focus more on just good chord closure, rather than a bunch of volume. So, hi Nick, hi Mark, Paras, all things leads, Alhumil, thank you so much. And you guys probably already know you're welcome to ask questions as we go along, but just know the last 15 minutes are totally set aside for you and your questions. Um, Okay, so first, a little bit of a warm up where we're activating our abdominal muscles. The muscles that I care most about are the ones right below your belly button. So find your belly button and then just place a hand gently right underneath that. So very low abs. And then the muscles in between your ribs, your intercostal muscles. The area of our tummy that sometimes will harden or crunch, but we shouldn't be, is what we call our solar plexus. If you find your sternum or basically the top of your rib cage, and then move down just a little bit to where you're finding the top of your belly, very, very top of your belly. That is your solar plexus. If we are hardening or crunching there, in order to get a stronger sound, that is just not advisable. It's not sustainable. And listen to what happens to the sound if I do that. So first, I'm just making sound. Ah. That's what happened when I hardened my upper belly or solar plexus. Yes, I got louder, but the sound got harsh, kind of strident. My ability to sing with a natural free vibrato was also just kind of immediately diminished. So all of that to say, if you're feeling engagement or muscle activity, we want that to be happening in other areas of your abdomen. Could be your back, could be your sides, could be your low belly, but try as best as you can to keep awareness of that upper belly or solar plexus and do not squeeze or crunch in with those muscles. Okay, first up, we're going to go from a hiss to a hum. We're going to feel the way that your body naturally engages on a hiss, and then we're going to carry over that engagement to a hum. So one hand on your low belly, one hand on your sides or your back. You can have a, little claw here so you feel all the way around. Inhale, feel this expansion. Exhale. What we want to be feeling right now is expansion on our inhale and then contraction on our exhale. Or we're getting bigger on our inhale. We're getting back to normal size on our exhale. Okay, feel that again. Inhale. Exhale. Hi, Tiana. Hi, Theodore. This time, exhale on a hiss. And I want you to feel, again, what naturally happens. We're not forcing anything to happen. Inhale. Exhale, hiss. When you run out of air, just relax. You don't need to make that last forever. And yes, every one of these live lessons it takes just a couple minutes to process, but then it'll remain on the channel. Try that again for me. Inhale, relaxed. Exhale, hiss. And just notice what you're feeling in that low belly and in your sides, your back. So for most people, they're going to feel something. The way that you describe that feeling, that might be personal. For me, I feel as if those muscles gently flex out and kind of just stay there, or they kind of remain in that expanded position. You might feel maybe a slight crunching inward and then staying there. Whatever you're feeling, just notice it. This time, we're going to do the same thing. Inhale, relaxed, exhale on a hiss, and then close to a hum. This exercise in particular, by the way, I got from one of my voice teachers, John Henney. So credit to him for that. I'll try to give credit if I remember a specific exercise I got from a specific teacher later on as well. Okay, inhale, relaxed. This time we're going hiss and then closing to a hum. So that's going to go any pitch that's comfy. Ready? Inhale, relaxed. Exhale, hiss. And the question is, can you keep that feeling going? Whatever you are feeling on the hiss, in your low belly, in your sides, can you keep that sensation, whether it was a gentle flexing or a staying in place? Can you keep that going when you transfer from the hiss to the hum? That's it. That's very, very simple breath management, abdominal engagement. And we don't need to make it any more complicated than that. The one thing that I'll add that really, really helps me is as I'm nearing the end of my breath, or it feels like I'm about to be out of breath, at that point, I'll switch my strategy from kind of thinking pressing out to gently drawing in, specifically with my low belly. And classical teachers will talk about this sometimes of, scooping the lower belly in. So give that a try. That this is my breath management strategy. Not that I made it up, but just that it works for me. So I'm thinking down and out. And then at the very, very end, I'll start to draw in my low belly, kind of thinking scooping in and up, just to use the end of that breath. Another very, very important thing is that we're not collapsing when we're running out of breath. That's what our natural tendency is. If I just breathe out, That's what my body wants to do. My shoulders want to roll forward. My rib cage and my chest all want to collapse. Um, so that's what I'm avoiding by continuing to think nice and tall and open. Another thing that classical teachers are really great at and usually will teach is this idea of singing on the feeling of an inhale. So rather than thinking inhale, expand, exhale, contract, and use your air, they think inhale, expand, and then as you're singing, continue to pretend like you could keep expanding. Of course, you can't. You are using that air, but the whole purpose there is that you're remaining in that expanded, open position where your abdominals are engaged, rather than thinking, okay, now I'm going to collapse and use my air. Anyways, okay. Um, awesome. Hi, Lady K and Chrissy. Perfect. And by the way, so Chrissy said I use down as well. So helpful to use a physical movement that helps you connect with this on an even deeper level. So if pushing out with your hands or pushing down with your hands helps you connect to that, do it. So one more time, we're inhaling, exhaling on a hiss, closing to a hum. We're careful to not collapse as we use that air. And the one thing we're going to try at the end here is scooping that low belly in at the moment that you feel you're starting to run out of breath. Okay, give that a try. Inhale, exhale, hiss. Whenever you're out of breath, just relax. And Lady K just shared, I found doing more cardio in my routine has helped with strength as well as running while singing. Excellent tips. I actually noticed that association as well for myself. I not recently, but when I was in a time in my life where I was doing a lot of consistent cardio, I found if I worked out and then practiced my singing later in the day, it went way better. I felt like Superman, just able to sing forever, and breath support was amazing. Um, awesome. Okay, so let's take this now to a hiss pulse with a he. So we're going to start. I'm going to be singing low today, my friends. You can hear it in my voice. So we're going to start right here on A3 or A2 if you're a much lower voice. We're going to go hiss for 2, he for 2, and then he. So all together it's going to sound like this. S, s, he, he, he. I want you to still have one hand on your low belly and one hand on your rib cage, because I want you feeling that engagement as you pulse on the hiss, as you pulse on the he, and then feel continued engagement when we sing he. Okay. So I'm going to go like this just to show you where you should be feeling those pulses. S, s, he, he. Okay. Every onset of sound, or every time you're starting a new sound, that's where we're feeling that engagement. All right, try that with me once. 2 hiss, 2 he, and then he. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. S, s, he, he. 1, 2, ready, go. S, s, he. Walking up. S, s, he. S, s, he. Keep going. S, s. S, s. S, s. S, s. So just a few of those. We don't need to go crazy. But the idea there is we're training those abdominal muscles to engage every time we start to make sound. The more that you do that, the easier it will be when you're just singing any exercise or any song that those muscles now know, okay, I need to turn on. We're starting to make sound. I need to turn on. So let us now move into our next section of exercises, semi-occluded vocal tract exercises. Your vocal tract is the tube in which your sound wave travels. So it starts from your vocal folds within your larynx. So the rest of your throat and then your mouth all the way to your lips, that comprises your vocal tract. SOVTs involve partial closure somewhere in this tube. So let's say your lips are closed. That's an SOVT. Let's say your tongue and your soft palate are closed, as they are when you make an NG sound. Sing. That's an SOVT. A lip trill is an SOVT. Singing through a straw is an SOVT. So choose your favorite. I'm going to grab my straw right now because, as I've said many times, singing through a straw, especially when your voice is recovering, is a fantastic idea and helps to bring down any swelling. So I'm grabbing my straw, but if you don't have a straw handy, anything will do. Okay, so we're just going to slide up and down. I don't know how well you could hear that, but I'm sliding up and down one octave. Think somewhere over the rainbow. That's the interval we're singing. I'll just sing it out of the straw. Ooh. Okay. So any SOVT you like, it could be a hum, could be an NG, a lip trill, singing through a straw. And returning to what I mentioned before, this is not about volume, right? It's impossible for me to hum really loudly or sing through a straw really loudly. What I'm going for is good, clean closure. So notice the difference between me singing. You can hear the breath in my sound. You can hear how much breath is leaking through versus or with an NG or a hum. Make it a strong one, not a okay? I hope that makes sense. We're going for clarity of tone so that our vocal folds are coming together efficiently. We're not necessarily going for volume. Start again on A3 or A2, sliding up and down an octave. And hey, can you still feel your abdominals engage at the onset, at the start of making sound? That's the whole reason we started with that hiss to hum and the he, all of that business. So that carries over. We want the abdominals to engage from the start. All right. Because I need my hands, I'm just going to hum. But I'm gazing lovingly at my straw. 1, 2, ready, sing. Walking up. Belly engaging at the start, right? Here you go. What I want to avoid is this really breathy sound. So start strong. Here you go. me. Walk back down. Okay. I ended on a very weird, I think, augmented chord accidentally. But okay, moving on, whatever you used, we're going to now go to the NG sound. We're going to start here. NG the whole time. Let me skip forward in my lesson plan really quick. I want to see. Okay. So what I want you to do for this NG is to see if you can get louder just on the NG. So like you said that the word sing, sing, and then you're holding on to the end of it. Sing. Can you get louder? If you did this with a hum, could you get louder on a hum? So we've got support from the SOVT. We are most likely not going to hurt ourselves, but we are training this, what we call medial compression, bringing the vocal folds together a little bit more firmly in order to get louder. So let's try it. NG. See if you can crescendo or get a little bit louder and then descend. Starting here. Give it a try. And then we'll walk up as normal. Here we go. Last one. Come back down. Sorry. That's the note I meant to play. Jump back in. Might be an annoying sound, that's okay. I kind of feel like a fly or a mosquito getting closer to you. So that's when I said it might be an annoying sound. That's A-okay. Chrissy, Lady K, Tiana, I love what's going on in the comments. Great advice, Chrissy. We learn so much from fellow singers, not just from teachers. Okay, same exercise, but this time we're going from semi-closed NG to a vowel and then descending. So same idea, you're going to get louder and then descend. We're starting with that semi-closed sound because, again, I guess I didn't explain this today, but I've explained it a lot in the past. Long story short, those semi-occluded sounds just make it easier for your vocal folds to come together. With very little effort on your part. So we're starting with that kind of as our training wheels, and then we're opening to a vowel. I'm using E because I find it easiest, but you don't have to use E. You can or really does not matter what vowel. But that's it. We're still crescendoing or getting louder, NG to vowel, and then descend. And by the way, this is kind of a good it's sort of a good plan of action anytime you're using a semi-closed sound, that you start with something semi-closed and then you gradually open up to a vowel. I think where a lot of singers get stuck, myself included, is you find an SOVT that you really like, for example, the lip trill or the straw, but then the benefits that you feel from that are hard to transfer to just singing open vowels. So doing exercises like this where you use the tool, the training wheels, and then you move to a vowel, either within the same exercise or just one after the other. That can be a good way to sort of bridge that gap. You guys are so sweet. Thank you, Chrissy and Lady K, and Eunice. Okay, yeah. So Eunice is saying she went to the ENT and had a little mucus on her vocal folds, and that is normal. We actually have a mucosal layer. Where it becomes problematic is maybe if there's excess mucus, maybe from postnasal drip, allergies, things like that. But mucus on the vocal folds, I'm not a doctor, keep that in mind, but mucus on the vocal folds is in the realm of normal. What typically we would be more concerned about would be, excess inflammation or growth or something like that. Okay, so here we are. Again, we're going NG to a vowel, same exercise that we just did. We're getting louder at the start and then descending. Here you go. Walking up. Please, I know I'm stopping mid-exercise, but please don't stop yourself if you think you sound annoying. Okay, I fully realize the sounds I'm making right now are not the most beautiful sounds. We're going for strength. Okay, jumping back in, and J83, I would watch the beginning of this live lesson. Once it's all done and posted, go back to that because we talked all about breathing then. Jump back in with me. Keep going, friends. Last one. Just for the sake of time, I'm leaving that exercise early because we have 2 full groups of exercises that I still want to get to. So we're on to the second group of exercises, or the third if you count our breathing ones at the start. Onset. So onset, as we said before, is how you begin a note. How you begin is typically how you're going to sing the duration of that note. The three main types of onset that we have are balanced, which is our default, and it basically just sounds like nothing. Your airflow and your vocal fold vibration are coordinated well. They're happening simultaneously. We also have breathy onset, where our airflow or our breath precedes our vocal fold closure. So that would be if you started with an H sound. That's breathy or aspirate. And then we have a glottal onset, where your vocal folds come together and then your airflow and vocal fold vibration begin. So that's what happens if you say the word uh-oh, uh-oh, and you can feel a little what we call glottal stop in between. Uh-oh. Okay, so when we want a strong sound, I'm going to take a drink of water. When we want a strong sound, in general, we do want that balanced onset, but if your default is a breathy onset, um, what can be helpful is actually going a little bit in the opposite direction, or a little bit past balanced and training a little bit of a glottal onset. So we're going to try this ah, sound like you're just starting to say the word apple. So try that for me. Just say the word apple, apple. Notice you're not going apple. That would be a balanced onset, and that's typically not how we talk. You're also not adding an H and going apple, apple. So apple, strong, but you don't have to overdo it and go apple. That's too much. So nice, natural spoken. And Lady K, I'm really, really glad to hear that. That's awesome. Okay, apple, that sound. We're gonna start right here and go ah, 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 and that's it. So pretend like you're about to say the word apple many times. Apple, apple, but we're just going ah. Ah, 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 ah. Give it a try. 1, 2, ready, sing. Ah, 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 ah. 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 Last one. Walking down. 2 more. Ah, 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 And Eunice is asking if I can put the exercises in the message box. Yes, absolutely. That's a great idea. So that's a good exercise to train more of a glottal onset. Now we're going to go. So we started let's say we started breathy, then we went to glottal. Now we're going to find that middle ground of balanced, which again is our default. Here's an exercise. I got this one from voice teacher Felicia Ricci. She doesn't teach anymore, but when I was first starting out, I watched a lot of her videos and I really liked this exercise. So this one sounds like this. You're starting with a Z sound, Z, 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 and then you're going to that ah, ah, ah sound, but we're not going ah, ah, ah too much. Z, 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 ah, 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 Z, Z. There's the full exercise. I'll do it again. Z, 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 ah, 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 Z, Z. So where that balanced onset is coming in is on those repeated ahs. We don't want ah, ah, ah. That would be glottal, too much. We also don't want breathy. Ha, ha, ha. We want that middle ground. So imagine you're saying the word, I can't think of a great example other than the word you, 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 you. That would be a better example, but that's not the exercise. DV music. I've been doing lip trills for 2 years. I'm still not comfy without lifting my lips with the fingers. Is it normal? Yes, it's normal for some people. I would say if you like the lip trill, keep going with it. But if you don't like it, if you feel like you're doing it just because other people do it, you don't have to. Singing through a straw or using other types of semi-occluded sounds are just as good as the lip trill. So yeah, if you like it, keep doing that and use what you need to make it work. But if you don't like it, other semi-occluded sounds are just as good. Okay, are you ready for this? Z, 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 ah. 1, 2, ready, go. Z, 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 ah, 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 Z, Z. Walking up. Z, 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 ah, 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 Z, Z. Z, 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 ah, 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 Z, Z. Z, 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 ah, 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 Z, Z. 2 more. Walk back down. Sorry. Last one. Okay, last exercise for training this nice balanced onset. We're going to sing the same pitch on goo, then coo, then oo. So we'll start here. Goo, 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 oo, oo, oo. That's it. Goo, goo, coo, coo, ooh, ooh, ooh. Lady K is asking, soda and sugar seem to heavily affect my voice. Is that normal? Sugar affects my voice. So is it normal across the board? I don't know. But I would say it's not unheard of. Those are two pretty common things that people might avoid before singing if they find that it affects their voice. So yeah. Other things, dairy, caffeine, common. Okay, goo, goo, coo, coo, ooh, ooh, ooh. Give it a try. You're going to find it's probably easiest to make the strongest sound on the goo. Goo, goo. A little bit harder on the coo. Coo, coo. A little bit harder on the ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Think of this as like training wheels and then loosening the training wheels and then no training wheels. Either octave. 1, 2, ready, go. Goo, 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 ooh, ooh, ooh. Walking down. Goo, 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 ooh, ooh, ooh. 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 Last one. Goo, 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 ooh, ooh, ooh. All right. Last group of exercises, dynamics and resonance. So, I mentioned before, don't worry if the sounds that you're making aren't the most beautiful you've ever made. That's pretty normal when we're working on strength. So, we're going to use first a quite bratty nay or na sound on a nay, 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 or na, 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 na. Again, forgive my kind of weak recovering voice. Hopefully, you're able to make louder sounds than me today. But we're starting with this kind of exaggerated, bratty sound. These types of sounds, again, just make it easier for your vocal folds to come together well. We create a and a vowels with a slightly higher larynx, which also makes it easier for us to bring the vocal folds together. There's a reason we're not going ooh, ooh, or no, 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 no in order to train strength. We're purposely using a and a. So here we are. Give me a few of these: ugly, bratty, witchy, catty. Here you go. Nay, 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 nay. Or na. Na, 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 na. Doesn't have to be the loudest thing in the world, but do you feel that it's a clean sound? Nay, nay, nay. Or is it nay, nay, nay with a bunch of air leaking through? It's very, very difficult to build strength on an airy sound. So that's why we're going for this. Here you go. Last one. Coming down. So a way to transfer that exercise to a more pleasing tone would be start with nay, 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 and then move to maybe na, 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 then maybe to na, 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 na. And you're building on that strength, that strong foundation, but you're shaping the vowel differently so that it doesn't sound quite as grating or shrill. Okay, next exercise, and DV Music, we are almost at Q&A time, and I'd love to talk about what you are talking about right now, about taking a break and larynx position. I would love to dive into that. I know you're not asking questions, but you're bringing up good topics. But I have just 2 more exercises for you. The first one, we're going to start on an E, then move to A, then move to ah. Again, I hope you're sounding stronger than I am. But if your voice is also recovering, I'm with you today. E, A, ah. E, So for this, what we're doing is we're using naturally kind of bright sounding vowels to get some strength, and then gradually opening up our mouth also to boost our sound. At no point are we pushing for volume. It's just kind of happening as we open up our mouth more. Okay. Ready and sing. Walk back down. Okay, last exercise, and this is a new one for me. I got this exercise from a master class with a voice teacher and researcher named Carrie Obert. And she's well known for her research into what we'd call twang and ring. And this particular exercise has us moving toward a stronger sound with something very specific. We're pulling back the root of our tongue or the back of our tongue, and thereby increasing what we call the amount of ring in our sound. So, this exercise, we're going to say we, then and that's where we're going to feel our tongue pull back. And then we're going to go back to an E sound. But the goal when we go back to E, let me do it all together. The goal there is to let the front of your tongue come back forward, but keep the back of your tongue high and pulling back. Okay, so first we, then then back to E. And hopefully, it might not be super obvious in that part of my range, but hopefully as we get higher, let's say around here, you can hear the difference. You can hear more ring in the sound, more perceived volume. And again, we're doing that by using that tongue position, the back of the tongue kind of pulling up and back. So what you should feel, E, your tongue comes forward. Your tongue pulls back. And then when you return to E, just the front of your tongue moves forward again. Okay. That exercise, I actually don't need to take you through a bunch because it's just a single pitch, and it is definitely time for Q&A. But I really, really liked that as a way of introducing ring, especially for classical singers. And Mark says, I think that's the first time I've actually sounded Scottish while singing. I love it. Did I sound Scottish too? So time for questions, concerns. Eunice had requested before that we put the names of the exercises in the chat. So I'm actually going to do that first. And this might take me a second. That was the very first breathing exercise we did. That was the second one. Then we moved on to SOVTs. Mark is saying, yes, I did sound Scottish. Well, how exciting is that? Okay, so here were the SOVTs that we did. If you happened to join late, then here's basically a recap of what you might have missed. Oh, good, Eunice. Yay. Eunice is so dedicated. On the go, break from work, working on her singing. Hi, Sheila. Almost done. And was the last exercise. Okay. So DV Music had shared this summer I had a break, maybe 5 weeks. I stopped warming up because I felt my voice needed a pause. Last week I started my recovery and the sound is much better than before, but less volume. I think right now my larynx is in a better neutral position, but I lost some volume, let's say 30 to 40%. And my mix is similar, much more similar with my head voice than before. Okay, so without hearing you, of course, what all of this says to me is your larynx is more neutral, um, meaning probably a little bit lower than it was before, because typically we're not concerned with an overly low larynx. Usually the issue that singers have is an overly high larynx, and then we correct that. Um, but what it sounds like to me, the kind of loss of volume and then your mix being more heady, that has to do with this slightly lower or more neutral larynx position. And I think over time, you'll be able to kind of trust that you've hopefully broken any instinct to shout and get the larynx into a too high position. And you can start playing again with slightly more like open, wide vowels. That'll bring in a little bit more volume, and even playing with a slightly higher larynx at times when you do want maybe a beltier sound. Um, so it could be that you're kind of in this phase, and your question of is it normal? 100% normal. Um, it sounds like you might just be in this phase of maybe slight overcorrection in the direction of lower larynx. And that's so common and actually probably necessary for a lot of singers. Let's say you're a singer whose tendency is to shout or pull up a lot of weight or too much strength when going for high notes. A lot of times, the types of exercises that we'll assign would be sort of dopey low larynx, goo 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 goo, and then we get comfortable with that. We break that habit of just always getting louder when we sing higher. And then once we're comfortable with that, goo 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 goo, then we start to open up the vowels a little bit more. Ga 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 ga. Without cracking though. Ga 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 ga. It's not going to happen for me today. I cracked not as much as I thought I would this lesson, but hey, we're nearing the end. And it is what it is. um Okay, so I hope that all makes sense though. Very, very common process to go through, sort of overcorrecting into low larynx territory. And over time, once you trust that you're not going to get into shout mode, you can start to open up the vowels a little bit more. Um, okay. Lady K. I can belt really well, but I find transitioning to a belt is so hard. I have to kind of pause and then belt. It's kind of hard to explain. Um, so, Lady K, that might be, I know that didn't quite have a question attached to it, but what it makes me think is pausing and then getting into belting mode means you're sort of maybe setting up your body or your support, your abdominals differently to belt than just your normal singing. And to me, that's very, very normal. That you would probably feel the need for a little bit more. Um, little bit stronger engagement before you go to belt. So that totally makes sense. And it makes sense that you might need a good breath as well, you know. Um, that, yeah, makes sense to me. Stephen, do you have days where you feel like you cannot control your support? How do you overcome that? Um, so I think was it Chrissy maybe earlier was talking about exercising before singing. I think that's a great suggestion for Stephen and for anyone else who feels like, oh my gosh, my body is just not helping me today. um, I would consider that. I would consider some physical exercise and then come back to singing. Um, I think that's a great suggestion. Um, I think in addition to that, sometimes when we get concerned about something, then we're like overly focused on it and we're trying to control and, maybe okay, now I'm going to start squeezing my ab muscles because I don't feel them helping me. I think returning to some of those hiss to hum exercises like we did at the beginning of the lesson is also helpful because it reminds you just how gentle that support feeling can be and how natural it can be. Um, Sorry, I'm just reading what's going on in the comments. Oh, fun. Congrats, Mark. Do you have any tips for staying in tune? As it's so easy to lean toward theirs because their voices drown me out. Oh man. Um, so the first thing that comes to mind, Mark, and I know this might make you feel like a kind of diva Mariah Carey moment, but the first thing that comes to mind is actually plugging one of your ears so that you can hear yourself inside your head while you're singing. If you feel comfortable doing that, I would say that that's what I would start with. And it's not uncommon at all to see professional singers doing that. So if you're feeling like, oh no, I don't want to feel like a diva, just know um, that's so common. You'll see professional, session singers, backing vocalists. They'll either kind of have their hand like cupped in front of their face or they'll plug their ear momentarily just to kind of check their pitch accuracy. The ability to hear yourself while singing for tuning is, I mean, it's crucial. So uh, you've got to be able to hear yourself. That's what I would start with. The second thing I would do is memorize where your part that you're singing kind of sits in your voice as opposed to the harmony part. So if the harmony part feels like low chest voice and your part feels like medium chest voice, whatever it is, make that association because that'll help you to find the correct pitch based on like energy, where it falls within your range rather than just how it fits within the accompaniment. I hope that makes sense. Um, Thank you so much. You guys are so sweet. Um, I hope all that made sense, Mark. So those two things, little earplug, whenever you need it, and then memorizing where your solo kind of sits within your range. Um, and then another thing, I guess, would be if there's accompaniment. I don't know if this is an a cappella piece, but if there's accompaniment, um, you know, figuring out where you're getting your starting pitch from the piano, say. Um, and Sprinkle Cat is an alto. Are there any vocal exercises that would be good for me to get my voice stronger and sounding better? Yeah, so I would look specifically, and we've got plenty on the channel. Look specifically for alto exercises. That way, you know that you're within the alto range, that you're not having to, you know, guesstimate where to be or drop the octave or anything like that. Um, and Chrissy, major scales. Major scales are just what we typically use for vocal exercises. I could do a better job of incorporating other types of scales, to be honest. Major scales get a little bit boring sometimes, but that's just kind of the default. Um, all right, my friends. Well, I hope to see you Monday. I plan to be here Monday. We're going to talk about nerves and confidence and exercises for that. But again, if I am not here, you know why. And hopefully, you'll be seeing another 30-day singer teacher, Abram, in my maternity leave weeks. So hopefully, you'll see another face and learn some new stuff from him. Okay, thank you. Thank you for putting up with my voice cracks today. And like I said, this lesson, if you missed any of it, it'll take a little bit to process, but then it'll show up on the channel like normal. Okay, bye.